Since Garen said I'm going to start with some remarks, I guess I have to. No, but really good team win. Was really impressed with our guys in terms of how we started the game. I honestly felt beforehand that we might be rusty just from having the break, and I felt we, I mean, I understand at the very, very beginning of the game they got out to a lead, and, you know, Dre had 2 fouls. So there were some things that, you know, catch your attention. I think it was 13-6 or something like that. But overall, I felt we had a good rhythm. And then in the second quarter, and it started in the first, but our bench did a really nice job. So overall, very good team win and a great effort.
Yeah, when you guys came out in that first, sorry, over here, Joe. When you guys came out in that first half, like, what do you think that spark was? It really seemed like the break kind of rejuvenated everybody a little bit.
Again, I think part of it was just trying to get a rhythm, and it was a collective thing. It wasn't necessarily one person or one play. I can single out certain plays. Like there was, you know, a play in the second half that stands out to me in terms of they were making a run, and we turned the ball over, and Clint runs down and blocks the shot. And I know that's in the second half, so it's technically not answering your question, but there were a lot of plays like that that either swayed momentum or, you know, just kind of slowed the game in favor of us, so to speak. Not necessarily slowed the tempo of the game, but just slowed it down to where, okay, we got it back in under control. And so, again, like I said, early in the game, I do understand that they kind of got the lead, 6-0 and then 13-6 or whatever it was. You know, it wasn't necessarily great, but you know, we got it back under control, and there wasn't necessarily one play in particular.
When you see a guy like Sadiq getting, you know, a couple extra weeks with the team and being able to do what he did tonight, and like Onyeka, guys stepping up like that, like what did you see from a guy like Sadiq? I'll start with him first.
I thought he was really good. I thought he hit some big shots or timely shots. Again, that's part of the sort of when we talked about what plays, right? I think he had some good plays. I think he had some good defensive possessions as well, where he, whether we were in a switching situation and he picked up somebody, or whether he just made a play. But overall, he's doing a nice job of picking things up, because it's not easy. But he's been in the league for a bit, and he knows how to play the game for sure.
I'm curious, on Thursday you mentioned that you guys kind of went back to the basics a little bit in terms of addressing what needed to be addressed, one of them being transition defense and rotating out and everything like that. How do you, when you look at the result tonight, how do you think that kind of paid off?
There were, so if I were looking at some, like that in particular, the transition defense, it was good. We made a point like their numbers don't necessarily say they're a great transition team, but what they do well is their defense is #1 in the league. And so when you get stops, you can run, and that's kind of what we did. In that second quarter, we were getting stops, and we were getting out and creating some easy opportunities. So that was one of the things we talked about, and we did a good job. Now, it's one game, it's one test, right? And so we got to do it again. We have a Sunday afternoon tip, and we're going to have to do that again. And so it's not just a one-time thing, and here we go. I thought we did a nice job of getting good looks at threes. Like to see a few more, though. You know, I think we had 28, but ball movement was good. So that was another thing that we talked about. Thought our spacing for the most part was good. So there were a lot of positives and a lot of carryover, so to speak, from the practices that we had.
Coach, I have 2 questions. One is about that second quarter. Again, you guys had almost 50 points in that second quarter. So can you speak to, you know, what took place in that second quarter? Actually, I have 3 questions. I'm sorry. Second question is, can you speak about, you know, Sadiq Bey's contribution to the team? Obviously, he's new to the team. He got traded just recently. Can you speak to like his impact on the team? He had a +20, I believe it was. And then the third question is HBCU night? It's a sellout crowd. It's really strong, really good energy. Can you speak to what it was like to get a W on this kind of night, especially a bounce back out of the All-Star break?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure I'm going to remember every question. But, you know, Sadiq, the bottom line with him is he's come in and he's been kind of put in a situation where he's got to learn a lot in a short amount of time. He plays multiple positions. he can guard multiple people. So what that's going to do is put him, like in certain situations, he's going to switch. In certain situations, he's going to be guarding the big, and he's going to have to know which coverage to call out to the small. In other situations, he could be involved with O or Clint, and in that case, he's going to have, potentially we could switch, but then he might be forcing the ball handler to do something. And so that's asking a player like him to come in. He does know that stuff, but terminology might be different. So that's what we were talking about earlier, is in a short amount of time, he's been able to pick things up, and he had a very good night tonight. Your third question about being HBCU and the crowd and the energy, Atlanta is an amazing city, and the fans here get behind their team. We had an event last night, which is another thing I give our players credit to. They were here last night taking pictures and talking to fans, and all the coaches were here and walking through the arena and talking to people and taking pictures. And the people, embrace their teams here, and they love the Hawks. And our guys tonight gave them a great effort. Like I said, this is the #1 defensive team by rating, and we put up a good number. And that gets back to the ball movement, the sharing it, the stops, like you talk about this 50-point quarter. Look at that, I remembered all 3 questions. The 50-point quarter, that was because we got stops and we ran and we moved the ball, we shared the ball. And there's a lot of things on here that don't even necessarily, like it says we had 14 turnovers. I didn't think we had, like, they weren't things that stood out like, okay, that's a problem. Like Aaron Holiday, one of the things that happened, Aaron Holiday had a turnover late in the game. And, he turned it over. We didn't like it. We just got it, okay, how does he get connected with the guy that he was trying to throw the ball to, right? Because they hadn't been out on the floor for, well, Lord knows how, it's late in the game. So there's just a lot of things that even on the stat sheet that don't show up that we just did that were really positive. And the 49 points were those things. That's what the scoreboard reflected, all the good things that we did.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure. Does anybody have 4 questions? No.
Bogdan Bogdanovic looked kind of bouncy coming out of the break. There were a lot of occasions where he was helping and in the middle of the floor and getting back to contest a shot. He played 22 minutes. Is it sort of a concerted effort to kind of keep his minutes down?
No, he could have played more, for sure. In the first half, one of the things that took place was he really got it going. And you don't want to extend his minutes in a particular run, meaning it's fine if if a guy plays 22 minutes and or let's say, even if he plays 30 minutes and he plays 8, 8, and 8, right? Now, I understand that doesn't add up to 30, but you bear with me, you understand where I'm going. But the point is, they're not as taxing. We had him at, a 12-minute run, and part of it was because he was going so well. One of the things where I felt I could have made a better decision was I brought DJ back to close the quarter, but DJ wasn't able to sub out in the second, and Trey, so he went longer than I wanted, and then he came back quicker. So at halftime, he's played 18 minutes. Maybe I should have brought Bogey back at that time. But again, to answer your question, there was not necessarily a concerted effort to keep him at 22, but we do have to keep an eye on everybody's minutes and making sure they're as fresh as possible as we go through this stretch.
Coach Jonathan from Real Talk Sports right over here. A quick question for you. How impressed were you with the team? You talked about energy and off-sheet stuff. It seemed like there was a lot of effort placed tonight, diving. How important is that for you going forward to keep that energy up with the team?
That's the game. I mean, the energy and effort that you put into it is usually the energy and effort that you'll see those impacts like we were talking about earlier. All those things that we put into it led to a 49-point quarter or, different things that took place throughout the game. I mean, even the start, they're up 13, like I said, I think it was 13-6, and they end up with, if I got it right, 23 points. So, but that is it. If you don't have that, then the rest of it doesn't really fall into place.
Coach, I'm just curious, how much of it was a learning experience for you tonight, especially kind of stepping back into the first chair?
No, it's always. As soon as you think you know everything, you learn real quick that you don't. A lot of learning for me. Like I said, I gave you one example of Bogey. Like maybe I should have brought him back instead of bringing DJ back. There's other things, but definitely a learning curve and lot to learn and a lot to build upon. So no, that's definitely learned from it.
Coach, what do you like about Jalen's game, especially his ability to push the pace and kind of bring the ball up and have the ball in his hands? Do you like to see him do that, and would you like to see him do more of that?
Yes. Yes, I do want to see that. I think one of the things that's difficult is if you always have to think about who he's out there with and how he can operate in that way. So if he's out there with Trey and DeJounte, well, they can handle and bring it up the floor too, right? So maybe there's less opportunities. There's always moments to teach. There was a moment in the first half where he secured a ball and he did not push it. And I immediately told him, bring the ball up the floor. And, there was another point where another thing happened and I told him, no, you need to do this. You need to, I don't want to go into the details of it, but there's a lot of things that he has to learn. And so on a night like this, everybody feels good and this and that about how things went. But he, just like me, he still has a long way to go. But like his ball handling, that's something that he can do. And he will make mistakes with it, but we've got to teach and get better from it.